Hi, everybody. I'm Marty Exline, and I want to welcome everybody today. Our session today is on the what's new in device loan and demonstration inventories. And we wanted to share the responses from the survey that a lot of you participated in about what you've added to your device loan and demonstration inventories. And just a few reminders, to see the captions, click on the closed caption button on the control panel. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put those in the chat window. And there may also be times when we may ask that you unmute yourselves if you have something you want to share about some of the devices or something that you've added to your inventories, or have a comment. If you have the raise your hand button in your reactions, then feel free to use that also. Just a couple of things as far as upcoming events. Make sure you check in on the at3center.net AT3 events page. We also, of course, post registration links, not only on the AT3 listserv, but also on the demo loan listserv. And I assume most of you are probably, if you're registered, you're probably on one of those lists. If you're not, then feel free to let us know. And please complete the post-webinar survey when you receive it. If there's other areas as far as your demo loan programs, let us know, and because we'd really like to make sure that anything we're presenting on either vendor webinars or any of their other webinars are useful to you. So as far as our agenda today, we wanted to do several things. We wanted to review the survey responses, and we had 34 states that responded. One of the things we asked about is what devices you've added to your inventory, especially COVID-related devices. What devices were in the other category, in addition to the ones we had listed in terms of tablets and those kinds of things. And then in terms of tablets, we wanted to ask a little bit about tablets that you've added for loan, and also that you might be considering for your demonstration centers. I know that Angela in Texas and some other states are looking at adding tablets or laptops to their demo centers, and we kind of wanted to investigate a little bit on what you're considering. And then what states have added mobile hotspots or internet plans to their inventories, and what other favorite things. There's a couple of folks that are not muted, so please. Just in terms of what devices folks have added or are adding, 28%, no surprise, are adding some type of tablets. Actually, it's not 28%, 28 total. 15 programs are adding laptops. 13 are adding smart speakers, either Amazon Echo or Google Nest or one of those. 7 are adding mobile hotspots. 2 were adding desktops, and 19 were adding other kinds of devices.
Marty, would you resume your slideshow?
There we go.
Thank you.
So in terms of some of the others, a couple of them that folks were adding, and I think these top 3 were Paula submitted that Virginia was adding. Paula, can you just touch on those robotic pets, Facebook portals, and the medication reminders?
Sure. We had made 3 kits, but one was a social health kit. So let me start my video.
Paula, can you get a little closer to your microphone?
Oh, yes, sorry. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, sure. We made social health kits, and because of the pandemic, and so
the robotic pets have been a huge success as far as getting them out. And try before you buy, since they're $120. We've had some people that, most people loved them, a couple people didn't, and it was nice they could try that. The Facebook portals, and even some weighted lap blankets, not full blankets, but some weighted lap blankets and things just to help with anxiety, pill reminders, pill boxes, because we found that some people could not get to their loved one or their family member. So having these extra pieces of AT was very helpful.
And I know that in terms of, I think there are some other folks that also added medication reminders. The Comfort Contigo system, I think that was Kim. Are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here. We added the Comfort Contigo basic courtroom system for the smaller counties or the less populated counties to borrow if they had a court case coming up where they needed an FM amplification system. We also added the pill drill, and we added hundreds of tablets and Chromebooks through a project with the Department of Aging. So the pill drill was kind of an interesting, it's kind of an interesting thing if you haven't seen it, because it's got a lot of different levels of medication reminders, and it uses scanning technology to record whether or not you've taken your pills or not. And there's an app. It's worth looking at, I think.
I was curious, did anybody else add any types of medication reminders different from those? Just go ahead and unmute yourself if you did. And then, Kim, as far as the courtroom system, is that something that you're loaning out?
Yes. Yes, we loan it out statewide. It's gone out several times. I think it's such a specialized thing that we're really going to have to make sure that all of the counties know that we have it to request.
And then what about robots? Hannah, in Florida, I think that you all added the Kobe robot, right, to one of your regional centers?
Yeah, we added it to our South Florida center through our Step Up grant with University of Miami. They purchased, I think, 5 of them to loan out to classrooms in South Florida. So it's essentially just a tablet stand that can rotate remotely. So if you're sitting at home, you can still be a part of the conversation and still can see everything going on in the classroom. So that one's pretty cool, and it connects through Bluetooth. So yeah, we've been loaning that one out quite a bit.
Then you were looking into Constant Companion too, right? Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that one's really cool. It is integrated into Amazon Echoes. So it is their proprietary medical alert system. So throughout your whole house, you'll have several throughout your house that you can just ask for help anytime you need it, but then it still does have all of those cool features that Alexa offers. And then something that's really cool about it is that it pings off of cell phone towers versus having to rely on Wi-Fi. So in rural areas, or if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can still be connected to both medical alert systems, and also family and friends. So that's really cool. And it does have a backup battery. So if the power goes out, you're still connected to both that emergency help and family members. We haven't fully committed to this yet, just because loaning in that might be a little complicated, just because it would be a subscription service that we would have to front the costs on for it to maybe sit on the shelf for half the year, you know. And also it is connected to that medical alert system with that personal information. So we're still working on how we would loan it out and then how we would demo it without having that subscription or those personalizations of the subscription.
Right. Well, good.
Yeah, and Marty, I just wanted to add too with the Facebook portals, because as Kim said, we paired up with the No Wrong Door and Department of Aging. It seems like an expensive device, but for the learning curve was so much better rather than handing one of our seniors a tablet or something like that. So that's kind of one of the reasons we went with that. I just wanted to add that piece.
And just talk just a little bit about portals for folks that might not be.
Sure. So the Facebook portal, that's all it does. But you can find an awful lot of things on Facebook. It will connect you with friends. You can do some of the calls, even still do some iMessages and some calls through Facebook. So it's just strictly for that. We also did some picture frames, some Wi-Fi picture frames, so that family members could at least send in some pictures. Those were popular for a while, and now it's coming back. And of course, you can also put pictures through the Amazon Echo. So we also got some of those as well. But a lot of ours was driven by the learning curve for our clients, prospective clients. Yeah.
What about, has anybody else added robots? I know a couple of people, somebody said they added an Omni robot, one of the Ovia robots. And if you had, like I said, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay. Move on to the next slide. I'm not froze here. There we go. What about as far as the Amazon Echo Show or Google or other smart speakers or hubs? Has anybody added some of those, and kind of what's been your experience?
Well, I'll just say we really talk a lot about the drop-in feature for family members. If we're talking about our seniors or our elders, what we're supposed to call them, that drop-in feature on the Echo Show has been nice. So if mom doesn't answer the phone or the cell phone, and mostly it's a phone, then at least we can drop in. That's one of our in the companionship too. But that's been a nice kind of check on somebody.
Yeah, this is Molly in Montana. We also bought some and really highlighted that feature as well. And they have been sitting on the shelves. I don't know if people just buy without trying maybe on those, but they have not been the most popular device for us during this year.
So this is Angela in Texas, and we just got some Echoes and some Google Nests. And we're hoping to kind of collect some data. The Google Nest we got with an Android tablet, and Echoes we got with an iPad. And we're going to try them out and see what happens and maybe collect some data. We have some partners that are going to sort of market it to their consumers for us. So we're hoping we're not going to have the shelf issue, or that people are going to go, oh yeah, I do want to try that, but I'm a little scared about it. And it's geared toward our partners service the aging. So that's our target consumer there. So maybe I'll have some more information in 6 months or so.
And Molly, I think you're right. The Amazon Prime Day, sometimes I think families just purchase them.
They still may not know about all those features though. Like that drop-in thing is kind of a big deal, because you can limit what their contact circle is, so that they're not, like if it might be an older person who's susceptible to scams or something, you can limit who they're engaging with if needed.
And Molly, I think. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
There's a good feature from NID LRR, what it's a grant of how to set one up. It's like a 70-page book, but it was really good. And that's been helpful because I think that that's maybe a little bit of the, oh, I don't know if I want one, I don't know how to set it up kind of thing. But that's a good resource too. I can see if I can find that and then I think one of the states did a really nice training on how to set up your Amazon. I think it might have been Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if anybody's on that can say I found that to be a really good YouTube.
Yes, this is Kim from Pennsylvania. We did put up a YouTube link about how to do that. I'm glad it was helpful to somebody.
It was excellent. It was excellent. Yeah.
And Molly, the adaptive biometric tools and the headsets, I think, are something that Montana added.
Yeah, we had a little infusion specifically for telehealth money, and our ATP did a phenomenal job of researching things and being able to back up how they actually would work for telehealth so she could support her choices. And so I laughed when I saw on her list that she wanted 2 Oculuses, the virtual reality headsets. But she had 2 articles ready for me. One of them talked about how therapists are using them for home exercise programs. And the other was about social isolation, knowing that 2 people who were distanced, not in the same household, could meet in this virtual reality world. So kind of combating social isolation through that. I have tried them a couple times and they give me a massive headache all day long after about 15 minutes. And I was telling somebody that just the other day, and he said, put a fan in front of your face and then it will trick your body into thinking that you're moving. Because I could imagine some different populations who might have a little trouble with virtual reality, but he said that worked really slick for him. So that was such a fun tip to have, so that we can also highlight that when we promote these Oculuses. So they've gone out a couple times and we've gotten some really good feedback there. And then she put together a really nice list of biometrics too. We figured if people couldn't go see their doctor in person, it was still important for them to be able to report what is your temperature, blood pressure, weight, etc. And so we did a lot of smart biometrics that would list on an app that you could send directly to your doctor so that they could have 30 days of information. We did a lot of talking thermometers and blood pressure cuffs. And then glucose monitors also that have the large screen or talk to you, and a few different pulse oximeters. One that is out all the time, which you wear in your sleep. And so it will vibrate if your oxygen dips a little low while you're sleeping. It's almost like a pre-CPAP machine. And so that vibration is supposed to wake you up enough to start breathing again. And another funky one was a portable air quality monitor for people with asthma. This is great for COVID, also great for fire season, which Montana is already in, unfortunately, but you just wear it around your neck and it'll let you know what the air quality is around you. So really fun ones with that. We had a great time adding to our inventory, and happy to answer any questions about those.
Yeah, any questions for Molly, or has anybody else added anything as far as health monitoring?
Yes, we did the pulse oximeter talking one and some things like that in an emergency preparedness kit just to have. But I've not seen the one that goes to sleep, that monitors your sleep. So I'd love to see that.
I'll put that up in the chat.
What about as far as virtual reality headsets or anything related to gaming that anybody's added or is working with?
Did you say gaming? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I did work with, there was a professor that was teaching a class on accessible gaming, or maybe it was a unit that was part of a class rather. And we did experiment a little bit with the Xbox adaptive switch. And then each student in the class had a client they were assigned to help them figure out what their accessibility issues might be for gaming. So like the the people with disabilities volunteered, and then they worked with the students, and they kind of made a mock-up of what adaptive thing might be accessible. And then I think some of them even used the 3D printers on campus to actually try to make some of them and put them in place. So we just got a few for that project only. And I'm not even sure if they've been checked out because I haven't looked at the data on it yet since we finished. That was last fall, so they may or may not have been checked out since then. But we didn't really include anything, just the switch interface is all we had.
We have a couple of adaptive game in Pennsylvania. This is Kim, of adaptive gaming kits that we send out and then Zoom with the people when they get them to try them out. And that's been pretty successful, especially some of our younger, more gamer staff members have been very helpful to folks about those.
And Kelly,
Kim?
you had,
Yes. This is
Oh,
Kelly.
sorry to interrupt. Kim, can you mention what goes into that kit a little bit more?
Sure. I'd have to look it up exactly, but I know that we've got the Xbox with the adapted switches and then we got the Xbox that we could actually have. There's not a subscription to play games, but it's the actual games. So it's not really it's not the trendiest because it really is just to see if folks can use it. So because we couldn't get the subscription, again, the subscriptions are always a problem. So we have actual games in it.
and David from Missouri.
Oh, and Caitlin,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Caitlin put in the chat an overview of those that we have on our website.
I was just going to say that in Missouri, we've added, we just recently received a grant and have added a number of adapted gaming related items, including laptops and access methods and Xboxes. So like the access methods are the Glass House, the Qazona, the Joust, the Quad Stick. We also have some eye tracking access methods for the gaming. We're starting to go down this road, so I don't have a whole lot of information other than what we've added so far.
And Kelly, you had your hand raised.
I haven't been working on the recreation piece, but it sounds similar to a lot of what other folks are doing. We just are going down that path. And I just wanted to mention, just yesterday, actually, I learned from a friend of mine, I have a vision impairment and use a screen reader, and PlayStation 5 actually has a built-in screen reader and has some specific games for blind gamers. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And there were a number, and by the way, we'll provide to everybody a full list of what everybody's added. So, so you're able to, if you're interested, to contact that state and find out more, you're able to do that. There were several that added webcams and headsets. There were a number that added different kinds of not magnifiers, video magnifiers, document cameras, handheld magnifiers. Anybody else add any vision devices to their inventories? Okay, I'll go ahead and move on. Maybe my screen will advance. It's taking its sweet time. Sorry about that. Come on, you can do it. I do love technology. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Dave, do you think you can pick that up?
Marty, I don't have your slideshow.
Let me try just a second here. Okay. Nope. Okay. Okay, can you see that?
No.
No.
Now we can see it, Marty.
Great. Wonderful. Definitely a lot of folks, okay, now it advances, wonderful. A lot of folks added quite a few different kinds of adapted mice and keyboards, quite a few microphones and voice amplifiers, so a lot of computer related additions, a lot of different kinds of mounts. Has anybody found anything new in mounts? There were a few different kinds of amplifiers that folks added, definitely added a few Pocket Pockers and other kinds of amplifiers. I was interested in several of you had added some UV wands and UV chambers for sanitation. Did anybody on the webinar add any UV wands or UV chambers, and how do you feel about those so far?
We use them to clean the pets, the robotic pets, and so far so good. You know, I think a lot of other stuff you can wipe down, but so far so good.
Anybody else purchase any wands or chambers? I know a lot of people were obviously thinking about it during COVID.
Yeah, we bought a small chamber, and I think we bought it kind of late, and we're now so used to our disinfecting policies that we kind of forget about it, and it just takes that little bit of extra time with things. So I'm sorry to say we haven't used it as much. But Paul, it's nice to hear that you're using the wands on the pets, and we might end up going that route if we get anything fabric again or plush.
And it makes the clients feel better too when you go.
This is Denise from Maryland, and we have a little shelf sort of thing that we have for UV, and we've done that for the devices that come back in. Plus, we're using it at our reuse center for the high technology. So we help put the devices in that can't be wiped down, or even after wiping down, use them in the little cabinet.
Thanks, Denise. So obviously a lot of people are buying tablets. So we kind of wanted to know, to start off with, in terms of your loan program, what types of tablets did you purchase? I know obviously a lot of people purchased some iPads, and also wanted to know if you preloaded the iPads with any, or whatever tablets they were, with any software apps, whether it's Zoom, FaceTime, anything related to any apps related to mental stimulation or telehealth or gaming. So can some of you talk about that in terms of tablets that maybe you've purchased and loaded with different software or apps?
This is Kim from Pennsylvania, and I just there's somebody in Pennsylvania who is an app developer, and they do digital literacy, and their stuff is called their Generations Online. They're great people, and they have apps for easy tablet help for seniors that really is, and we put it on all of our tablets that go out. It's great. Highly recommend it.
Thanks, Kim. Anybody else?
This is Angela, and we have, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 different apps that we administer through a JAMP, which is that mobile management system. And there's a self-serve button through JAMP you can put on your tablets. And then the end user, when they check it out, they can just, like for example, AAC evaluations, they can start with ProLoad of Quo, and then if that's not the right fit, they can just uninstall that one and then install, another one like Touch Chat or something, or they can keep them both installed at the same time. You can't really, once you get all the AAC apps, it's too much for the iPad, so you've got to uninstall some to put some others on. But that's worked really well for us so far.
And just kind of along those lines, and Angela, you talked about kind of looking at your demo centers and kind of looking at refreshing tablets or laptops, and kind of some of the considerations you were going through, and we're kind of curious as far as what some other states were doing. So you want to kind of touch on that?
I would love to do that. So through the past year, we've been refreshing some of the technology at our demo centers. We have 16 in Texas because we're so big, and we'd even like to expand that. And so the PCs and Macs we have are quite old, so we're going to start refreshing those. Obviously, it's a little hard to do that all at once, so it's going to be a process. And my question is, do y'all have both PCs and Macs or one or the other? You always buy the biggest RAM and the fastest processor, but do you think you really need a gigantic hard drive? Because you're not putting a lot of documents on them. I mean, you're loading a few pieces of software, but then you're not really saving a lot of other stuff to the computers because they're demonstration computers. And previously, when I had run a lab, we had separate computers for our VI software and all of our other software, because the VI software used to kind of compete, the resources and the voices kind of messed the other apps up. And I didn't know if that was still the case, because currently, from when Roger was the director, he has multiple PCs at the demo centers, and there's like a VI PC, and then there's an everything else PC. And if I can avoid having to buy two computers, I would rather do that. And probably laptops with a monitor rather than full towers, because the demo centers just don't have the footprint to be able to maintain all that. And then we have iPads, but my question is, most of our Android and Windows tablets collected dust and were never demonstrated. The iPads were always demonstrated. So I'm wondering, do you really need Windows and Android tablets? Because there's not really as many apps available in those environments. And then when you look at some of the softwares like Text Help and Kurzweil, so they more or less kind of do the same thing. Do you have all the different kind of text-to-speech softwares, or do you just have one example and say, oh, and there's others? Because now you can download a trial for 30 days and kind of try it out. So it's not like you have to actually try every single one. Or do you think it's better to have every single one on there? So that was a lot of questions. What do y'all think?
So I'll duck in. This is Bilford Leverett from South Carolina, filling in for Carol Page. When it comes to our program, since we're under the School of Medicine, under the University of South Carolina, they're not wild about computers that are not logged in with faculty or student credentials. So we don't really keep them. The only ones that we tend to keep around and actually loan out to people, other than eye gaze devices, are just our iPad fleet. I think at one point we had some Android tablets, like 1 or 2, and they're gone. So I mean, we've got, it's like 40, 50 iPads, and that's it. But the way iPad OS has kind of updated itself, with mouse support, with keyboard support, we just don't miss it. If we need to demonstrate, like I've just, we have a head mouse Nano that's just clipped onto a case, and we just kind of keep it that way. And we just let it ride, and those iPads turn over, especially kind of just that kind of mid-range, a current base model or like a couple of years old Air. They're just workhorses for us.
Yeah, they are.
And once I will say, once Apple starts releasing the MFI eye gaze trackers, even those eye gaze trackers we have are probably they're at least on notice.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Somebody else put in the chat that their Android tablets really aren't used. Any thoughts on the software on the computers? So, I mean, all of our demonstration centers are not, we have one demonstration center housed at our facility, and the rest of them are spread across Texas. I mean, we connect with them once a month with a webinar, and we try to visit them once a year, but they're kind of on their own out there. So the less complicated I can make their setup, the better.
This is Kelly from Michigan. In my former place of employment, and just being a user of many different adaptive softwares and training folks on them, in my experience.
Kelly, I'm sorry, could you be just a little bit louder?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me better now?
That's good.
Okay, and now my dogs. I'm so sorry. One moment. I forgot where I was. I think it's not so much of a big deal anymore as long as you have the computer set up to do the work, so the memory and the processing. I have had multiple adaptive software programs loaded onto the same computer, and they don't necessarily compete with each other as much as they used to.
Okay. All right, good information to have. I'll let you know what we finally decide and then tell you if it worked out well.
This is Amy. Sorry, Angela. This is Amy with Minnesota, and I agree with you as far as when there's software available for 30-day trials. I think that's a great solution for individuals. Like the big one that we had been struggling with in the past was Dragon, because they didn't have the 30-day trial, but now it's worked out nice with Microsoft's Dictate feature. So if consumers don't have Microsoft, we can at least demo it for them virtually to kind of show them how that works. And there was something else I was going to mention and I lost it. So there you go. But I agree. Oh, I know another thing too. We did have a couple demo tablets available. We work with state employees. So we had some tablets set up with Dragon and with Zoom Text and, a few other robust softwares. And the problem there was when they borrowed our devices, they were our devices with nothing else on them. So they weren't able to interface with their own software that they normally use. So it seemed kind of pointless.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. That helps, Sean.
Another question you asked was, do the individuals you serve have access to low or no cost hotspots or internet plans, like through ADRC CARES Act funding or some other source? 15 said yes and 17 said no. In terms of the sources that they talked about, they did talk about CARES Act funding. There are several states that are able to provide mobile hotspots through CARES Act funding. Of course, a couple of people mentioned the emergency broadband benefit program, the Lifeline program. A couple talked about some of the lower cost plans, Comcast Internet Essentials or similar programs. Some states, of course, have libraries provide them. I guess there's government, the DC government provides some low cost plans. I know some of you have added hotspots to at least some to your loan programs. Anybody want to touch on that?
This is Angela again. And somebody mentioned earlier that whole subscription issue is such a challenge. And I don't even know if this is something that AT3 could organize, but some kind of thing where you could just pay the whole year at one time. The best we could get was 6 months at one time for that kind of thing. And that was still just such a difficult thing for the business office at a university to handle and do something with. I don't know if other entities have this kind of challenge, but they do not like the whole subscription thing or monthly payment things or any kind of thing like, or even the whole contract thing sort of made them anxious. So if there was some kind of way where you could just say, I want to buy a year of access on this, MiFi for these 5 devices that I can then check out, and then people could try out some of that. Less so in my big cities, definitely in my rural areas, it can kind of be a challenge.
Yeah, this is Denise from Maryland. Because we're run by our state, we have the same issues. They're not allowing us to do any kind of subscriptions and so forth. And we've even tried with some app developers to say if you can give us a bulk something, but it's been really difficult.
Anybody else? Misty mentioned that they've used Visa gift cards in Alaska for some subscriptions, just the same as purchasing iTunes and gift cards for apps. I apologize for problems with advancing these slides. Speaking of internet access. Other favorite devices that people have mentioned that they've added to their inventory that they'd recommend to other programs included, of course, robot pets for senior centers. There were several programs that mentioned different types of reading pens, the OrCam and the C-Pen reader. Paula, Virginia had purchased some things like sensory items like electronic fish tanks, sensory lights, weighted pads, and then you also put together some emergency preparedness kits, things like one-handed can openers, emergency flashlights, and folding canes. Could you touch on your emergency kit a little bit?
Sure. Those went to the AAA's area agencies on aging to use it in treatment, one-on-one or in groups. We used a lot of what the Red Cross said, but we really wanted to tweak it more towards assistive technology. So we broke it down into just general safety, some solar powered batteries for your flashlights or for your phones, to self-care, one-handed can openers, easy scissors that open packages. Doesn't help to get food from an emergency situation if you can't open it. And then just more of some of the sensory things. So those kits were deployed, and then folks are demoing that and sending us data. But the hope was that everyone would make their own kit because it was certainly inexpensive enough. And then the sensory items we only did 6 of those, and those are just as anybody needs them. And we developed a couple new partners, one with a local hospital that's a rehab center, because they felt like that would be have been a really good partner to show those kinds of devices as well. I'm happy to send out my emergency preparedness guidebook if anybody wants that.
Yeah, I think several folks might be interested. So yeah, send it. I don't know that I've seen, but send it to us for sure. We can share that with folks.
Okay, thanks.
And then just some others, some different types of feeders, robotic feeders, liftwear level, and liftwear steady. Smart glove and pegs were one of the items listed. One program mentioned the humanware line of visual impairment tools. And then, like I mentioned, there was quite a few that mentioned different types of mounts and different things. So just if anybody has anything else, just in terms of other kinds of devices they mentioned, but I also wanted to just take the last 10 minutes or so to kind of ask about what else would be helpful to know from other states for future demo loan, community of practice meetings. I think the other thing we've tried to do in the demo loans, community of practice webinars, is to have some vendor webinars. And so definitely would be interested in if people have certain devices or certain vendors that they see that they would like to know more about their products, then that would be something that would be helpful for us. But just in terms of materials or other topics, does anybody have anything? Kelly?
Can you hear me okay?
You're pretty faint.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I take, okay. I just wanted to mention, we just got this and are trying it out, but a smart oven for preparing meals at home. So it has a subscription service, but it also can be used as a standalone and with grocery items from certain brands. But it has a scanning feature that when you scan the product and press the start button, it just automatically knows how long to cook the item. And it's fully accessible. So as I mentioned, I have a vision impairment, not much usable vision. The app is fully accessible with VoiceOver and other built-in features, at least with the iOS. And then the smart oven itself has very tactile buttons and is pretty easy to use. So.
Great, thanks. What else? Bora mentioned that, and I think a couple folks would like to learn a little bit more about adaptive gaming devices and recreation devices. So that's something we could definitely share. What was the name of the smart oven again?
It's called Tovala.
And then Molly mentioned that they got the June oven and have been really enjoying it. And yeah, John asked if we could send out the list of items with links to the product pages. So yeah, we can absolutely do that, John. Anything else as far as either devices or future topics? And like I mentioned, we will send out a survey too to follow up. So you can definitely, if you think of something later and you want to enter it there, then that would be great. Well, if that's it, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody who completed the survey and sent in your additions. And definitely, like I said, please do, when we send out the meeting survey, please add anything that you think of that would be an area that you're interested in. And appreciate everybody, and have a great rest of your afternoon. We'll talk to y'all later.